Focusing on the negative consequences of not taking action can be much more powerful than just focusing on the positives. Maybe you're excited to meet with your boss or your important client, but is it the excitement that drives you out of bed in the morning? More likely, it's the desire to avoid the consequences of running late. Depending on the nature of your big why and your unique perspective, there is a combination of motivations that will push you past your own threshold for taking action. Everyone is different, and there isn't a single answer that works across the board. The key to igniting emotional rocket fuel is finding the combination that works for you. This process requires a bit of self-discovery. If you just recently identified your big why, knowing how to best motivate yourself to take action is a learning process. Sometimes the factors that are most effective in getting us to cross the threshold and take action aren't what we originally assumed they would be, and we need to rewire our thinking a bit to stack our emotions in a different way. Many people naturally focus on the positive outcomes they want from their big why, but often they make more progress when they shift their focus to include thoughts on the negative outcomes for not taking action. This seems counterintuitive, so I want to make sure you watch out for this when you stack your emotions. If you find yourself not taking action because you tend to focus on pleasure, you might need to add in some thoughts on pain to use as your own personal leverage. If you're excited about taking action towards your big why, that's great. But is it enough to ignite the emotional rocket fuel to keep you highly motivated every single day? Or will you feel like hitting the snooze button once in a while? Make yourself think about the painful outcomes that could result from not taking action, even if it's an unpleasant thought. For example, what are you going to miss out on by not taking action? What opportunities are you throwing out the window? How will you feel knowing you didn't reach your goal simply because you chose not to take action? These thoughts aren't as fun as focusing on the pleasant outcomes that could result from taking action, but they can certainly help motivate you and remind you of your big why. The key is to find the right balance of motivational factors for both pursuing pleasure and avoiding pain. Live it, challenge. Refer back to the lists you created in the emotional stacking exercise. Now that you understand how some motivations are more powerful than others, revisit how these factors make you feel. Instead of thinking logically about the reasons you should take action, let your emotions guide you. Which points bring out that fire in your belly for wanting to take action? When you identify a reason that strikes a chord in your heart, focus on that reason and feel the emotions behind it. Try this strategy with various points you wrote down, and take note of how effective they are at pushing you past the threshold for taking action. Once you're able to find the point that moves you emotionally, look for the next and stack it on top of the first. As you stack one on top of the other, you should feel your emotional rocket fuel increase. Repeat this process until you find yourself unable to avoid action any longer and are driven to take action now. In the beginning, this is a learning process. Practice and see what types of thoughts give you the maximum amount of emotional rocket fuel. Now that you have identified how to stack your emotions, you need to focus on doing it every single day to stay motivated. On the journey to living your dream life, building this emotional rocket fuel will help you keep pushing forward even when you encounter challenges along the way. Overcoming fears. One roadblock many people face when igniting their emotional rocket fuel is the ability to manage their associations with fear. Sometimes taking the actions necessary to meet important goals is a scary process. It takes people out of their comfort zones, which can be a little unpleasant. However, many times that is an unavoidable part of making progress. If people do not take control of the associations they have with fear, they will limit their ability to take positive, life-changing actions. On the flip side, when people are able to control their fear and take action, they can provide themselves with even more emotional rocket fuel, because taking action is an accomplishment in itself. No matter what happens in the end, displaying courage and bravery feels good. Take a moment to think about a fear that has been holding you back from taking the actions necessary to get the results you want. Maybe the basis of your fear is rejection.